All right, we are back with the second half of this section we have on malware. And we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of malware in general in this subsection. And first, I want to talk to you about antivirus. We should all have some kind of antivirus running on every device we have. That includes your cell phone, that includes every digital device you have that connects to any kind of network. Basically, we're going to talk about this much later in this course, but there's a thing called hashing, all right? And hashing works by taking some kind of data, sending it through this complicated mathematical process, and getting a unique or close enough to unique signature from that data. So antivirus works by learning the signatures, the hashing output of known malware, right? So every antivirus company collects as much malware as they can, records the signatures for each piece of that software, and then puts out those definitions, those signatures out to all their users. And so every time you update your antivirus, you're getting all the signatures, the definitions, the identities of all the newest malware that's out there attacking computers. And then every time me as a user with this antivirus program, every time I try to download a file or install a program or do anything that involves going out and retrieving data from somebody else, that antivirus will look at that same signature, that same hashing output from that program that I'm trying to run or install or download, and it compares it against its list of known malware signatures. And if there's any matches, it'll say, hey, you don't want to do this. This is some kind of virus. This is, a ransomware program, whatever. Don't download this program. So because of that, it's so important to keep your antivirus updated. Because if I haven't updated my antivirus in 6 months, any new malware that has come out in the last 6 months, or any malware that my antivirus maker, the company that makes my antivirus, any definitions that they've found or updated in the last 6 months, I'm not going to be protected against. So it's really important to update your antivirus as often as possible so you can get the latest kind of signatures, the latest identities of all those different pieces of malware that might be running around. Now, why do people create malware? Well, again, criminologists love to sort groups into categories, right? Researchers of all kinds, we love to sort people or things or crimes or whatever into categories. So this is one of the kind of sortings of bad guys and malware writers that I've found that puts people who create malware into one of these 5 categories based on what their goal in creating that malware was, right? And again, there can be lots of overlap. One malware writer can hit 2 or 3 or, theoretically, even all 5 of these. But in general, these are kind of the 5 motivations for creating malware. The first there is creativity. They want to see if they can do it. Remember those old school hackers from the last section when we talked about history and how they were obsessed with knowledge and hack was a creative solution to a problem? Well, this is that kind of motivation, right? They just want to see if they can do it. They want to see if it's possible. They want to see, they want to kind of test themselves against the system. The second one is revenge, right? Somebody has upset me. Bank denied my loan or foreclosed on my house or something. So I'm going to write some kind of malware to get revenge on that person or entity or organization that upset me. And I'm going to create the malware in order to make their lives worse. Pranks. Computer people are notorious pranksters. One of the first major viruses spread by floppy disk, which gives you an idea of how old it is, was called the Elk Cloner, I think was the technical name of it. And it started off as a prank. It was some teenage kid created this virus just in order to kind of mess with his friends. And then it ended up spreading and cloning itself and spreading and spreading and spreading until it was, infecting way beyond just this teenager's small group of friends. Fame. Again, there are lots of people who do really bad things just to become famous. They want to get that notoriety, either worldwide notoriety in the case of, really major famous crimes, or just notoriety and fame among their kind of group of, their subculture of bad guys, virus writers, hackers, etc. So just to get kind of cred amongst this group that I'm trying to impress, I might create some malware that does some horrible thing just so they'll be like, oh, wow, that guy actually knows what he's doing. And then finally, the fifth one is income. We want to make money. We want to, take something of value, whether it's actually cash or cryptocurrency or, credit card numbers or something, and use the malware to take it from the people who it belongs to and give it to us, right? And there's a few different ways you can get that income. The few different ways you can turn malware into cash or the cash equivalent, right? Now, again, this is not a complete list. This is just some of the more common ways that we can turn malware into money. The first is just by creating the malware itself in return for payment, right? So all those motivations from this last slide apply to people who aren't studied enough, don't know enough about computers to create malware. But if I have money and I want to take revenge on a business that's upset me, I might say, hey, I have this money. I can hire someone or pay someone to create this malware for me. So I can just go to somebody I know who can do that kind of thing and say, hey, if you create a virus that will infect this company that really pissed me off and do this bad thing to them, I will pay you X amount of money. So these malware writers can say, well, I have no real beef against this company, but he's going to pay me a bunch of money to do it, so I will make this malware just for them. Or, maybe it's not for a specific client. I know how to create malware. I create some malware to do some horrible thing, and then set it up for sale on the dark web. Say, hey, I have this malware. Here are its capabilities. If you want a copy of it, send X number of dollars or Bitcoin to X address, and I'll send you a copy of this malware. And they can kind of sell it to whoever wants to pay for it. Similarly, botnets. If I'm a botnet master, I've infected tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of computers or digital devices, and they're now kind of under my control, and I can make them do different things. I can rent that out to people. Again, somebody gets upset and wants to perform a distributed denial of service attack against their business rival. They can pay me, and I will use my botnet to attack their business rival, take them either completely offline for a few days, a few weeks, or just, again, slow down legitimate access to their website. And that directly will help out the person who's paying me to attack that business rival. And then, of course, there's just the ransoms paid via ransomware. As I discussed in that slide on ransomware, the ransoms can be very common. They can be very large, anything from a few $100s up to hundreds of thousands of dollars for each individual infection that I create with that ransom. And since it's paid in cryptocurrency usually, again, that becomes much harder for law enforcement or any kind of cybersecurity person to track. Not impossible again, but much more difficult. So there's lots of different ways you can make money. You can gain some kind of monetary advantage or monetary benefit when you're able to create and distribute malware. Now, remember, I started off this section talking about how malware is not illegal until you start using it against other people. It's perfectly legal for me right now to create some kind of malware and have it on my computer and, study it, talk about it, write a computer science paper about it and get that published in a journal. That's all perfectly legal. It doesn't become illegal, again, in most jurisdictions, right up until the point where I put it onto a computer that I don't have legal access to, right? If I send it out onto the internet to infect whoever, that's illegal. If I email a friend with a copy of it and they don't know that it's a piece of malware and they download and infect their computer with it, that's illegal. But if I only keep it and store it on my computers or computers for my business or my, the computers that I have control over, that's perfectly legal in most jurisdictions. But what governs this in the United States is the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. In the UK, there's a couple of different laws there that govern kind of what makes it illegal when it comes to malware, what the definitions of malware are, what the legal punishments for malware are. But disturbingly, there are a lot of countries that either don't have any laws against creating malware or don't have laws against spreading malware purposefully, or there's laws against some kinds of malware but not others. So the legal situation in any given country is very different from country to country to country. So if the bad guy is in a country where the malware they're making isn't illegal, it can be difficult or essentially impossible to hold them accountable for creating that malware, for infecting all those computers, for causing people and businesses to lose data and money and all those things. So this is something that, thanks to the design and function of the internet, this becomes an international issue real quick. And once it becomes an international issue, it can become very difficult legally to hold those people accountable, depending on exactly what jurisdiction they actually live in, or which jurisdiction would have the legal ability to hold them accountable theoretically. All right, that's the end of our section on malware. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.